So one of only two Republicans on the January 6th committee is weighing in on the investigation. Illinois Congressman Adam Kinzinger says that he expects Rudy Giuliani to comply with a subpoena to testify and that public hearings could begin as soon as this spring. So let's bring in Scott MacFarlane to talk more about that anticipated testimony and the upcoming jury trial for one of the accused rioters. Scott, thanks for joining me. When I heard that he expects Rudy Giuliani to comply, I thought, okay, he's going to show up, but is he going to talk? Is he going to actually answer any of the questions? What is the expectation for the testimony that Rudy Giuliani will provide, and when could that happen?
It was supposed to happen last week. That was the deadline the House Select January 6th committee set for the former New York mayor, for the longtime Trump lawyer. They didn't make that deadline, but two members of the committee tell me they're still optimistic or still moving forward with the idea he eventually will show. This weekend on Face the Nation, the Republican on the committee, Adam Kinzinger, said that there are lawyers talking, that there are discussions underway. In this particular context, that may be an optimistic thing for the committee, that there are still discussions going on. But this committee has already met with 500 witnesses, Anne-Marie. Rudy Giuliani, in the inner circle of the former president, a person who had the ear of the former president on January 6th and still may have it today, truly is the epicenter of this investigation. It's the interview they still very much want. They've subpoenaed Rudy Giuliani, also other members of the legal team, Jenna Ellis and Sidney Powell. So far, no formal meetings, no formal response. But Anne-Marie, unequivocally, the committee still seems optimistic a meeting is to happen, that they'll have some conversations, some interviews with Rudy Giuliani.
So, Scott, you mentioned this, that GOP Representative Adam Kinzinger appeared on Face the Nation yesterday, and he talked about applying pressure to other Republicans to take a clear stance on how they view the events of January 6th. I want to play some of that.
Every Republican has to be clear and forceful on the record. Do they think January 6th was legitimate political discourse? Don't let them avoid it. Don't let them hem-haw, and don't let them transition to some other subject they'd rather talk about. This is an answer every one of them have to give, and then we can move on once they're clear and on the record. But this is definitive to our democracy. How do you feel? Was it legitimate?
So, Scott, it seemed to me as if Representative Kinzinger was sort of throwing down the gauntlet at the press. Right, that if you are going to interview any of these individuals, the first question out of the gate should be the ones that Congressman Kinzinger is positing there. So, it's because it's hard to get these guys on the record, these men and women on the record, if they're not answering questions.
Yeah, but they will be on the record with some votes, too. I mean, to a degree, House Republicans have already gone on the record. There were votes on contempt of Congress reports on Steve Bannon and Mark Meadows. In the Steve Bannon case, you saw almost the same votes that we saw for the second impeachment of Donald Trump in 2021 vote to recommend Steve Bannon for contempt of Congress. Fewer voted for Mark Meadows' recommendation for contempt of Congress. So there are these measuring sticks that come up when the committee does its business and the full House has to approve it. More votes are coming, but to a larger degree, what this January 6th Select Committee is trying to do, including the two Republicans on the committee, is shift the hearts and minds of people across America to lay out a case to change sentiments about the former president, about what happened before January 6th, and what happened that day at the U.S. Capitol when the committee holds its primetime hearings, which will happen likely spring or summer, according to Congressman Kinzinger. When the committee lays out its report, it has a mechanism and an opportunity to change hearts and minds. That will put more people on the record about what they think about January 6th.
So listen, let me ask you about the criminal investigation now. For the first time, one of the accused rioters is set to face a jury trial. The other ones have been in front of a judge. The judge has made the final call on their case, but this is going to be a jury. What's at stake for this particular defendant and for the Justice Department?
Yeah, as the January 6th committee does its business in Congress, there is that parallel U.S. Justice Department prosecution of these 740-plus defendants who've been charged with crimes for January 6th. The first trial, a seminal moment, comes the last day of this month, February 28th, 9 a.m. D.C. time in the D.C. Federal Courthouse. It's a man from Texas named Guy Reffitt, who is not any ordinary defendant. He is a high-level defendant facing high-level charges, including carrying a gun amid the mob and threatening his children if they were to turn him into the FBI. He's pleaded not guilty, but what's critically important here for all the defendants is at this first trial later this month, the feds will show their cards, show what they have, what they plan to show as evidence, who they plan to call. And here's what we know so far. CBS News has reviewed the witness list. We know there'll be Capitol Police officers, a Secret Service employee, a U.S. Senate employee who will talk about the 12th Amendment and its function that day. There will be FBI employees or an employee to speak about the investigation. And who does the defense call to defend Guy Reffitt at trial? An incredibly important canary in the coal mine moment coming later this month.
Scott MacFarlane for us. As always, my friend, thank you very much. Incredible reporting. Appreciate it.
Thank you.